2022 started off with a big bang in the Pacific Ocean. Which island nation had to deal with a major volcanic eruption followed by a tsunami? More friendly bangs were heard around the world with the celebration of Chinese New Year on February 1st. According to the Chinese zodiac, what sign do people born in 2022 have? For the next question, we stay in China for the Winter Olympics. The 2022 edition of the Games was held in Beijing, but which country took the most medals home? Time to switch time zones for question number 4. The war in Ukraine must be the biggest news event of 2022. Russia started the invasion on the 24th of February. That same day, the defiant answer of the Ukrainian defenders of a small island in the Black Sea went viral across the world. What was the name of that island?
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Another viral violent incident happened during this year's Oscar ceremony. The slap heard around the world. But do you still remember which film won the award for Best Movie? The Ethiopian Civil War started in 2020, but 2022 saw some of the most violent episodes, but possibly also an end to the conflict. Which region of Ethiopia was the primary theater of this war? Back to the war in Ukraine. A lot of atrocities made the news. But the first big one to hit the eyes of the world was the massacre that happened during the Russian advance on Kiev. At least 458 civilians were massacred. What's the name of this town? With all the news about the overturn of Roe versus Wade, we almost forgot that the first African American woman took a seat on the US Supreme Court. What's her name?
Do my part to carry our shared project of democracy and equal justice under law forward.
The pinnacle of entertainment on the European continent took place on May 14th this year. Which country won the 2022 edition of the Eurovision Song Contest? He already set a new world record for the most Grand Slam titles during the Australian Open earlier this year, extending his lead to 22 wins in total. Which tennis player won this year's edition of Roland Garros for the 14th time? Back to the United States for the next question. Like every year, we had a lot of mass shootings to choose from. So listen carefully to the next question to avoid any confusion. This mass shooting happened on May 24th in an elementary school in Texas. The 18-year-old perpetrator took an AR-15 style weapon to his former school. Controversial about this case is that police waited more than an hour to engage the shooter. Which 2022 mass shooting are we talking about? First launched on Christmas 2021, we finally got to see the first pictures of a new space telescope in July. What's the name of this new telescope replacing the Hubble one? Back to sports. Which racer won the 2022 edition of the Tour de France? Back to Asia for question number 14. On July 8th, the former Japanese Prime Minister was assassinated during an election event. What's his name? On the 20th of August, the daughter of a Russian ultranationalist was killed in a car bomb explosion, probably intended to hit her father. Although the man has no official ties to the Kremlin, he is sometimes referred to as Putin's brain. What's his name?
Damaged the two filmed from a private drone. It appeared to show a gate eruption. Expression said 100.
On the 26th of September, a pipeline taking gas from Russia to Europe was deliberately sabotaged. It is still not clear who is behind this special operation, so we can only speculate who had the means and motivation to pull this off. What's the name of these pipelines? Italy got its first female prime minister in 2022, as Giorgia Meloni and her right-through radical right bloc won the elections. What's the name of her political party?
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service.
Back to the UK. People had to say goodbye to another female leader. Queen Elizabeth had been the longest reigning monarch of Britain, even surpassing the record held by Queen Victoria. How many years did she sit on the throne?
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
2022 will be remembered in the UK as the year of 3 prime ministers. We said goodbye to Boris Johnson, we said hello and goodbye to Liz Truss, and we welcomed number 3 on October 25th. What's the name of the current Prime Minister of the United Kingdom?
Good morning.
With huge news coverage about human rights, the treatment and deaths of migrant workers, the cancelling of beer consumption in the stadiums, and the banning of LGBTQ+ symbols, one would almost forget that people also played football at this year's edition of the World Cup. Which country played the opening match against the host of the tournament, Qatar? Humanity is going back to the moon. India and China are working on lunar projects, but also NASA intends to go back to the moon. The Artemis program wants to put humans back on the lunar surface. What's the name of the crewed spacecraft that will be used during these missions? On December 8th, a prisoner exchange between Russia and the United States took place in Abu Dhabi. WNBA star Brittany Griner, who had been held in Russia for cannabis possession, was traded against a Russian arms dealer, nicknamed the Merchant of Death. What is his name? If you enjoyed this video, then please tip us by hitting the like button.